Hi, welcome to the Market Alert for Friday, the 7th of June 2024. So market pancakes as Nvidia gamma squeezes fizzles, attention turns to jobs and a global easing cycle. So a lot going on there for yesterday. ECB also cut rates, which we saw, and traders now gear up for Friday's NFP. I think the moves yesterday would have been more to the upside given that we hadn't got the NFP numbers out today. They're certainly far more important as far as the US are concerned than whether Europe's dropping their rates by 0.25%. So economic news today is the big one, but before we get there, we've got European parliamentary elections, day 2 of those, and then we've got the most important economic news item, one of them for the month, and that's the NFP numbers out at 1:30. Average hourly earnings are forecast to increase slightly. Also an increase in the non-farm payroll change and the unemployment rate to remain the same. So the main one for me is the middle one, and that's 175, 182. If it comes out at 182, that says the economy is still doing well. It's inflationary still. But again, it depends who's taking the jobs and what jobs are being created. We've had this for the last since 2008 really, with regards to most jobs are either part-time or immigration jobs, but they're still all part of the figures and are used. So we'll see what happens at 1:30 when they are released. Right, let's have a look at the pancake markets from yesterday. As the headline says, basically flat, obviously treading water, waiting for today's NFP numbers. And we'll kick off with the Dow. So in the Dow, still making progress for yesterday, taking out the previous day's high, which is good, and also above the 50 EMA, and overnight the market also moving higher. Bit of supply coming into the market there though, and certainly getting into an overbought situation, but that won't stop the market and reverse it just because it's overbought. It can continue to move to the upside and head to that new all-time high of 40,054. 30-minute chart, you can see the reaction there yesterday to the ECB, and then the market just flattened out, and blame Nvidia for this. The gamma's gone and price is moving to the upside there, currently on the overnight above the DP and the close of the previous day, but not the high because obviously that came in with the ECB during yesterday. And the German DAX, well, bit of a poor reaction to yesterday. The market up, taking out the resistance to the left and the 20-bar moving average, but then coming back and closing below this. Not impressed at all with Lagarde, as can be seen here. Market still above the 5-bar moving average though, and again, obviously waiting for today's news. Supply coming in yesterday, but we're not in any overbought situation. The market is actually quite sideways at the moment for the German DAX. 30-minute chart shows a big move to the upside to begin with in anticipation. Maybe the market had already factored in the rate cut, and there you can see trading up to the R2, reversing and then moving down, and it's been sideways ever since. It's not too far off the low of yesterday that was made in the afternoon session, just at actually it's the evening session there at 19:30, so 7:30 p.m. A lot to do to get through the DP and the R1, but then it does have the advantage of the NFP numbers at 1:30. S&P 500, well, unbelievable, but 5,362, the all-time high that was made on the overnight for yesterday, if that makes sense, hasn't been breached. Yesterday the market was very, very quiet, and let's just have a look, see what we've got. Yeah, we're still below that on the overnight at the moment, so let's have a look at this in the 30-minute chart. So yeah, you can see we went up and more or less double topped the overnight. Actually it's a bit higher, that's why it's slightly different then. So we've got right, that's why it's just up by 1 point. I thought it was slightly different. So yeah, the all-time high for the S&P was done yesterday afternoon, and then the market coming off that, so that 5362 level there. So the all-time high needs to be taken out. Market's moving up quite nicely overnight, and I suspect given the NFP numbers, the market's going to continue to move to the upside as well and drive through this level during today. It's Friday, and it's always good to finish the week on a positive if you can. In the FT100, prices are still making rising lows for the last 3 days. And you can see there in the 30-minute chart the same thing there as well. You have, with the pullbacks, creating quite a nice uptrend there, and also through yesterday's high, but reversing currently as I record there. So it's got to stay above the high in order to move higher. If not, get it below the close, you're likely to see the 50 EMA and the DP there tested. In the US dollar, we can see that this is sideways, not much of a reaction to the ECB yesterday, of course, because it's waiting for today's news, but certainly a bit of a downtrend going on now in this market as well. So there is a bit of movement to the downside as far as the US dollar is concerned there. Right, let's have a look at the metals for yesterday. A bit of a surprise for silver. So as we look here, you can see that silver moved up sharply yesterday, allowed to move up, taking out the three fibs en route. 38, 50, 62, 78 and 89 are the next two upside targets if prices are allowed to move. And you can see there just after lunch with the ECB, the market moving to the upside, coming back a bit there at the moment, and that's probably because there's pressure from gold, which we'll look at in more detail in a second. But gold, having broken out of that sideways move, is starting to move higher, but not at the same speed as silver. And in fact, overnight, you can see for the last 30 minutes, gold has been pressured to the downside, so it'll need to stay above yesterday's high in order to move higher there. So this brings us to the gold-silver ratio. And we can see yesterday that acceleration in the silver price compared to gold has reduced the gold-silver ratio down towards the 76%, not a percentage, 76 level there. So that's good. It'll be interesting to see how the market pulls back and how far it pulls back, whether it's 50% or whatever before it starts to move back. But again, not to sound like a broken record, today will be an interesting one to see whether the numbers are sufficiently bad or good enough to move the metals as well. Right, let's have a quick look at yesterday's trading session, and as you can see there, even from the start in the pre-market session, prices already set the tone and had moved higher there. No signals because it was already green and moving higher before we had the opening salvo from the cash market. Prices continued up to the R2, then found resistance and moved back down for the latter part of the morning session, and then became sideways. And obviously then we had to wait for the ECB, and there you can see the reaction from the announcement that rates had been dropped by 0.25%. I mean, this should be a positive reaction from the markets, because if you've got your money in the building society and the rates drop, then you're going to earn less, so then you tend to see more speculation into the markets, and that's not shown there for yesterday. That's the reaction from Lagarde's comments, but the market did bounce back a bit there, back to the high of the previous day, and then put in a quick trade to the downside, which can be seen there, and prices then becoming a bit sideways, having moved its attention away from the bank rate to today's NFP numbers, which you can see they're sort of stuck in a bit of a range there. So that's where we were with yesterday, and overnight price is fairly quiet at the moment in the German DAX, sitting at the close just above, and all of the averages in the right order to move the market to the upside. If they do this on the open, then watch the DP level there as the first upside target if it successfully takes out the BRN here. Okay, that's it for this one. Let's see what the NFP numbers are at 1:30 and how the market reacts as we head into the weekend. So with that, have a good weekend, and as ever, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.